Hello, hello, hello. Chainsaw Man chapter 144 just dropped, and we are going to talk about it. Ooh, there was like a hair in my throat. Give me a second. But yeah, anyways, that is the fan art I drew of this chapter, which is named Guns, Nails, and Katana, because there are people with guns, there are people with nails, and there are people with a katana. So that's the fan art of one of the gunmen from this chapter. I think you can appreciate my talent. But anyways, let's get started in the discussion. Blah. So the chapter starts with the teenage members of the church getting ready to shoot up the authority that's coming for their church. The old pastor is kind of giving out directions. He's claiming that the guns are bestowed upon them by Chainsaw Man. It's the holy guns. So that's very, very American of this pastor. And then the nail fiend shows up. I assume that's a fiend because her brain is, kind of infected looking. Kind of reminds me of the Cosmo Fiend in that her brain is, falling out of her skull. So she shows up to stop them, and she initially seems to do it pretty safely. She disarms them without harming any of them and nails them on the walls of the church, which is I guess it's like a bit of an irony because they're being like nailed in a crucified position, like Jesus. So she seems to be relatively chill at first, but then she fucking bashes in the skull of one kid. So that's very unchill of her. And then the pastor transforms into a devil after also going into contract with the Justice Devil. So, the entire church could be the Justice Devil behind a lot of what the church is doing, but we'll get into that in a bit. And then the chapter ends with the Katana Man showing up from behind to slice up the pastor. And that's the end of this chapter. So very, very short chapter. I finished reading it in like 30 seconds. It's pretty straightforward as well. Not really a whole lot to talk about. I guess one thing I do want to bring up is that when the nail devil was nailing those kids to the walls, that was an unfortunate pause in the sentence. So when she was doing that, Nobana wasn't one of them. And one thing is that in the beginning of the chapter, Nobana was shown as like one of the kids in the front lines of their church defense squad. So it's a little weird that he wasn't included. You might think that he got away from the carnage, or not the carnage, the skirmish, one would say. So I can totally see that, like him getting away and then becoming a recurring character in the future, like how Kobeni gets away with some violence in part one. But yeah, that's the end of this chapter. So let's see how far we can go as far as discussions. So one thing I do want to mention, or not just mention, but discuss in detail is the newly formed Division 7. So from what we've seen, it seems to be like a Division 4 continuation. Because after part 1, pretty much everyone in Division 4 died, with the exception of Denji and Kobeni, who are no longer part of the public safety squad. So now we have a new Division 7, continuing the legacy of our heroes from part 1. And let's look at some members. So we have, this is a cop, he's not one of them. He's not cool like that. We have the Katana Man this chapter. We have Yoshida, who seems to be in a leadership role. We have the Nail Fiend introduced this chapter. We have Quan Chi, who was not Makima. She's no longer with us, but Quan Chi, she was reintroduced last chapter. We have Fumiko, who seems to be a normal human so far. And then we have maybe Reze. Because she was with them, she was wearing a public safety uniform in when she was possessed by Makima in part 1. So you would imagine that the public safety just kind of kept her around. So those are the potential members so far. And I do think that it might lend some credibility to people thinking that Yoshida is some kind of a devil-ish person. Because, everyone else in the division are kind of devil-infused in some way. And Fumiko as well, because some people do think she's like a hybrid in some form. So that could be it. But she did say she has parents. So she's definitely not a fiend at the very least. So that's Division 7 for you. See what else I got set up. So another thing I kind of want to talk about is the idea of the church owning guns, because in the beginning of the chapter, the pastor told them about how guns are gifts of light, weapons of light, granted to them by Chainsaw Man to protect themselves and to, revolve against the government. Not revolve, revolt. Let's see, revolve is a different word. But the pastor is clearly a bit manipulative in that he knows the guns are not from Chainsaw Man. Because it's like how Sugo previous chapters ago, right? Denji kind of called him out on some of the more exaggerations, fabrications by the church, and then Sugo kind of just admits that yeah, we do be making stuff up sometimes. My source is I made it the fuck up. Yeah. So they do be making stuff up here and there. But you have to kind of wonder, where did the guns come from in the first place? Because in part 1, Makima talked in detail about how guns are distributed to the to different factions intentionally so that the gun devil will grow stronger. So she does go into detail about how the government is in control of the guns this whole time. So you would kind of have to think that the government might have been behind a lot of what goes on in the church. Maybe they intentionally, powered, created, and wanted the church to exist for I don't know why actually. Why would they want the church to exist? That's a good question. Uh yeah, I don't know. My brain is fried. I haven't slept in about. Actually, no, I did sleep last night. I slept like 3 hours. But yeah, very very short chapter. Let me go over it again to see what I can talk about. If there was any details that I've missed. Mm, bu- 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 bu. Du- 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 du. I guess I went over everything that I could. Let me see. Oh, I just want to point out the. Oops. Let me get rid of this. I just want to point out the irony of the pastor, saying that he's calling the devil hunters. They sold their souls to devils. And then the next panel, he's like, I'll become a devil myself. I'm not like them. So that's kind of a funny line that kind of went over my head in the first read. The translators also said like devil exterminators. So I wonder if it's just it's like a if they switched up the way they translate devil hunters, or it's like they're just using different words for the same thing. Hmm. All right. Let's see. Let's see. We can. I guess we can talk a little bit more about the Justice Devil. Because and previously the Justice Devil kind of. Let me make a new tab for this. All right, Justice Devil. Oh, it's too big. All right, so the Justice Devil. So previously, the Justice Devil possessed Yuko and the class president from Asa's class. But here, this is the first time that the Justice Devil possessed a man. But then, even when they did, they have like very. They gave him kind of feminine qualities in that he has a heel. He's wearing high heels, and his waist is pretty slender. Yeah, he may have some booba here. I can't really tell, or he might just be like sagging because he's old. But the Justice Devil definitely has more feminine qualities than masculine ones. And that's probably because there's the Justice Lady kind of feel to it. The I don't remember the statue's name. There's like the blind Justice Woman. The this thing. I don't know what this is called actually, but it's like the statue they have over courtrooms and shit. So I figure that's kind of where the feminine qualities are coming from. because justice and a lot of metaphors in English at least are kind of like seeing as a woman for some reason. So that's kind of how I see this is going. Ba, ba, ba. Justice Lady. Lady Justice is the name. I wonder if this is a thing in other cultures. Because I know this came from like Greek and Roman mythology. I wonder if this is like a thing in Japanese or other kind of cultures and religions. Let me see the origin of her in. I'm looking on Wikipedia. Um, yeah, I guess that's it. It doesn't really say anything about other religions. I guess it said that the scales came from Egyptian mythology, but other than that, the rest are from Greek and Roman myth. All right. Greetings from Chile. Hello, hello. Thanks for coming. But that being said, I think that's about all I can discuss as far as this chapter is concerned. Um, there's not really a whole lot to say about Katana Man, because the Katana Man, he's still he didn't really get a makeover as far as I can tell. Because when Quan Chi showed up, she has like a whole different fit on. She has her new sweatshirt. She has her new like jacket. She has like a new eye patch and everything. But the Katana Man, he's wearing the exact same thing. So I guess the public safety sector has not that strict of a dress code. Uh, and he's still pretty salty about Denji killing his grandpa, it seems. Even though he is working for the division that is supposedly, protecting Denji. So that's where he is at. I wouldn't be surprised to see him try to kill Denji at some point again. But yeah, very, very short chapter. Again, it took me about 30 seconds to read through, and it's one of those chapters that are more action oriented than anything else. Let's see if there's going to be a chapter next week. I would imagine not, because Fujimoto does do like a three chapters and then a break. And I think we've had 3 chapters in a row. Ooh, I was like on the verge of sneezing, but then I stopped myself because I was in the middle of a sentence. But it feels terrible. We do not have a chapter next week. The next chapter comes in October 10th. Alright, so that's gonna be it from me for today. I'll maybe do a stream next week to talk about, I don't know, some topic regarding this series. Maybe I'll like rank all the girls from the series or the guys. We'll see. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me for today. I'll see you guys